SportFit. Today we are excited to have Jackie Coffin and Kim Fontaine of Emotional Q. I'm looking forward to today because much of what we have focused on is the physical side of things. That's my go-to, that's what I know, and that's what I'm comfortable with, and I think a lot of us default to that. And whether it's hiding from the emotional stuff or just not understanding its importance, I think it's often pushed to the background, much like other elements that are key parts of our well-being besides fitness, like nutrition and things like that. Those are harder to grasp onto, and I think people either don't understand or don't want to try to understand the importance of it. So welcome to you, Kim and Jackie. Thanks for joining us. Can you guys explain what emotional Q is in the true sense of the word itself? Like if you were to look it up, and then how the business evolved from that, or your work evolved from that.
Do you want to go, Kim?
Sure.
Okay.
So the company is Element Q, and we educate on emotional intelligence and empowerment. And the importance of that, we think is really, it's foundational to everything that we choose. It influences our thoughts, our feelings, therefore our actions and our choices and our decisions. And so it's important to sort of develop that relationship and understand what it is that our emotions are informing us of.
Sorry about it. I guess I got your name wrong too. Emotional Q. It's Element Q.
Element Q.
So it's easier to, again, measure, physical improvements or compromises. Lots of tests for that and objective measures. But emotions can be harder to be aware of. And it's easier to hide emotions, negative emotions, whether we know it sometimes intentionally or maybe unintentionally. And probably right now is a time when a lot of us are doing it unintentionally, feeling like things are pretty good, but not realizing how much, isolation, maybe financial issues and such are starting to weigh on us. From the perspective of someone with your expertise, how would you explain what is sort of going on in the world emotionally right now, and what you guys see as the potential long-term effect of all this?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on. It's heavy. There's a lot of fear that's happening right now with everything around COVID-19. Everybody's afraid to go out to the grocery store just to do the normal day-to-day things that we're used to doing. And this has spiked, the fear has spiked, I would say, collectively among everybody higher than it's ever been before. So we're noticing people are in a higher level of fear than they've ever been in. So it's sort of like, imagine from a fitness perspective, if you went from lifting a 20-pound weight to all of a sudden lifting a 50-pound weight and you haven't built yourself up incrementally, that would be the difference in how quickly the fear has jumped.
Well, now we can relate.
Yeah. So if you can put it in that perspective as to how painful that would be to lift that much weight without building yourself up, that's how painful or how much of a burden the increase in fear is on everybody right now.
And what the understanding of it, how are we to understand it, and I don't know if you can say measure it, but sort of be able to start to, I guess, look within and realize just what we might be carrying without realizing it.
Yeah. So a lot of things we talk about, we have this tool called our fear tree, and fear is caused by 5 different losses, and then it'll create fear, and then fear will branch into 4 different emotions. So fear goes into anger, anxiety, sadness, or guilt. So another thing people can look at is if they're noticing that they're feeling a lot more of those emotions, guilt, sadness, anger, or anxiety, that can alert them to that there might be fear influencing those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And then start to question themselves, am I feeling afraid? What am I afraid of? And then when you can start questioning it, that gives you an opportunity to have choice to change those emotions that keep cycling.
Right. I guess like anything, it's understanding there's something there, and then once you do that, you can sort of attack it, approach it, deal with it.
For sure. Yeah, it's about the awareness of it, right? Being able to sort of really be honest with ourselves about what it is we're feeling, and what emotions are being presented. We're presenting emotions all day long for ourselves, but also when we're interacting with others. If somebody's approaching us in a high level of anxiety or anger or sadness, it actually really helps us to develop a lot of compassion too, because we'll be like, I wonder if there's if those emotions are just that pure emotion, or if there's fear underneath it. And if there is, we address that person differently then, right? We address them with more compassion. And the same thing for us, if we can turn that compassion inward.
This would probably come in handy amongst a lot of households right now, as
Yeah.
probably different parts of the family are dealing with different things at different times, and then having all that squished together between four walls.
Yep. It's a lot. And it just gives you an opportunity to look at the situation differently. So if somebody in your household, like Kim was saying, is coming to you with a lot of anxiety or a lot of anger, instead of fighting back with more anger or building on that anxiety, it gives you an opportunity to say, oh, maybe that person is feeling really afraid today because what's going on, and what can I do to support them to bring that fear down rather than to continue to build it up.
You had mentioned the tree. Are there, I guess, other methods, tools, or ways of self-reflecting to be able to understand ourselves? I guess we probably need to understand ourselves first before we can worry about trying to help other people.
That's true. Do you have something?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, well, like one tool we use that we encourage people to use is curiosity. If we can just start with curiosity about what's actually happening for ourselves. So if somebody's feeling anxious about going out to get groceries, and if they're doing that right, that can, oh, lost my train of thought there. Oh, sorry, I lost it. Jackie, do you see where I'm going there?
I think, well, the tool is just sort of questioning your thoughts, listening to what you're saying to yourself in your head. Noticing physical sensations that you're having will also help too. Fear has a lot of, or anxiety, sadness. I mean, sadness, we all know with crying kind of has that feeling. Anger will be increased, sort of that anger. There's other physical sensations that go with it. Fear might have more chest pains, same with anxiety. Just taking a few moments to ask your body how it's feeling, noticing physical sensations, questioning what might be going on, listening to your thoughts. All of those things help.
Yeah. And if you can acknowledge, yeah, for sure. And if you can acknowledge that you're in fear, because a lot of people, a lot of us, it's hard to say, I'm feeling scared, right? We don't say that a lot out in the world.
No.
So why not? And be like, I'm feeling a little, we can use the emotions, anger, anxiety, sadness, guilt. I'm also a little scared of X, whatever it might be. Because what that fear is doing is it's alerting us to a potential loss. Now, the loss may be real or may not be real, but it triggers historical information about loss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm all for exercise, and I know the benefits of it. How would you guys connect the benefits of exercise with emotional outcomes from your perspective and your knowledge of the emotional side of things?
Well, right now, I think a really cool way of putting things into perspective, we've, like, with everything that's happened in society around COVID-19, it's a really heavy mental load and emotional load, and our bodies are trying to, so like if you think of the fear response, flight, fight, flee, our bodies are sort of trying to react to the fact that our minds and our emotions are under this enormous amount of stress, but yet we're all sitting around watching TV. So I think our bodies are not like in alignment with what our minds are. So I think exercise is really key right now, to be lifting heavy weights, doing a lot of like a physical load that matches the mental and emotional load that we're taking on.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think kind of leads into the next part with, you kind of touched on maybe some of the habits or bad habits we're taking on here with our extra hours. In terms of more couch time, maybe snacking due to stress, snacking due to boredom. So then this vicious cycle kind of starts because we're snacking now, and then maybe we're gaining a couple pounds, so now we're stressed about that, and it just kind of sort of feeds itself over and over again. How would all that connect to the emotional health, and again, I guess reaching out in terms of any suggestions for tools or exercise, not physical exercises but mental exercises to help, I guess maybe either fill those gaps of time that we're now reaching for the pantry, or just other, I guess an example might be forms of meditation, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a hard cycle because we are bored, we're sitting around, but we're also scared. So it's a hard thing. It's like, are we bored? Are we scared? Are we eating food to suppress the emotions that we're feeling because we're uncomfortable with the emotions? Sometimes we are just bored and we don't. So it's questioning that would help a lot too. And also, emotions need to be physically released from the body. So through exercise, meditation, just movement in general. There's a lot of joy movement. I know we were talking about that book, Kevin, the other day. And it doesn't have to be running. It doesn't have to be doing really hard, vigorous things, going for a bike ride, finding things out in nature that might inspire joy and happiness that kids would enjoy doing, going for a scooter ride, blowing bubbles, different things to kind of get yourself painting. What are some other ideas, Kim?
Some breathing exercises that you can do. That's really, really effective and helpful, even if just being attentive to some deep breaths. I think being outside right now is really a great idea. So whatever that takes. It was so exciting the other day. I saw somebody, well, it made me really happy. Somebody was out riding across the streets, a family, and the father had a big boombox on the front of his bike, and his kids were all in front, and his spouse, but it was just like blasting music through the whole neighborhood. And I was like, this guy's doing a great job. I'm outside, and it just brought that little bit of life, right? So anything you can do to kind of make things fun for you. So dancing, right? You don't have to be a good dancer to dance. Just put on your favorite music and bust a move, dance it out. So it's anything that moves your body. And also I think attention is really helpful right now too. So when I'm outside, paying attention to, what does the air smell like? What do the leaves feel like under my feet, right? Like just paying attention to what the physical sensation of the sun feels like on the body. All of that really helps to sort of recenter and reground.
And this would be the time, because we do have time now to stop and smell the roses, as they say. I mean, when you mentioned about the breathing part, is maybe as goofy or silly as this sounds, or as simple as this sounds. I've tried sort of this breathing routine at night, and maybe it's placebo right now, but I find even now for falling asleep, just running through this simple pattern has really helped clear the mind with all that's going on, and recently feels like falling asleep quicker and having better sleep. So I think sometimes we look for very complicated means, and a lot of this probably doesn't have to be that complicated.
No, it doesn't. It's a beautiful point. Emotions, I think that's the one reason why people run away from it when you start bringing it up, because it feels like it has to be complicated. It doesn't have to be. Yeah.
And people can feel like their emotions are intense, or have been told historically that their emotions are intense, but really that is just one part of you that's expressing that it needs some information to be acknowledged. And I think when we do that, at least what we've seen when we've done the work ourselves and when we lead other people through it, is that it actually is not as scary as people imagine. And you can take your time with it. It doesn't have to be all at once, right? One thing at a time.
Yeah.
Is there so I mean, there's so much information, and some people probably like to reach out in this area maybe on a more confidential level. Is there information, whether it be contact or website, for tools that I can provide people at the end of this when I post it out for everybody?
Our website is elementq.ca. Our email is info@elementq.ca. And then we're on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Okay, great. I'll get that out to everybody.
We're also hosting 30 free 30-minute chats if people want to contact us just to start a conversation, to get a little bit of information. We can do that to support anyone who's interested. And we are hosting, usually it's probably going to be Wednesdays, so we'll have that confirmed up from 7 till 8:30, talking a lot about courage and emotions.
Okay.
Yeah, starting on Wednesdays.
Okay, I'll make sure I get all those details too and provide that out for everybody.
Awesome.
So as we wrap up here, is there any final points that can help us sort of overcome anything we might be dealing with currently? Besides smile?
Yes. I think that isn't a small point. I think right now it takes a lot of courage to choose happiness, joy, and love. And that's one thing, as much as we're trying to get people to realize when they are in fear, we want people to use that knowledge to have courage to choose joy, love, and happiness, because those are the emotions that are going to support us in balancing this huge amount of fear right now. And it takes a lot of work. So even just choosing to smile for a few minutes a day, or having a dance party, or just choosing to do something that's really, really fun for a few minutes is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Simple yet effective.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess on that note, then, I just want to thank you guys. It's we feel extra special when we get legit professionals on here. So thank you for your time, and I hope this helped everybody out there. And like I said, we'll provide more details, contact info, and about the Wednesday night seminars at the end of this clip for everybody.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Thanks,
Kevin.
Jack. Thanks, Kim.
Bye.
Bye.